Alright, I've been doing a ton of research, testing, and recording clips for a new major video. While that's in production, let's get a quick one out. Normally, I like to discuss genuinely relevant and useful techniques overlooked by the tutorial, or at least narrow optimizations that are at least hypothetically usable. This is not one of those topics. Most of this is going to be real goofy and obnoxiously impractical. Did you guys know that Peacock can do an improvised bootleg command dash during block stun while blocking for the entire duration, but it costs a bar of super meter, self-inflicts 800 damage, and requires many full seconds of prior setup? I know that sounds like a shitpost, but it's actually real. Kind of. And yes, this is a Peacock-specific thing. If we switch to Painwheel and try this, nobody gets pushed anywhere. And it's not just what happens when Peacock push blocks a Lenny explosion. Here, the training dummy puts down a Lenny that behaves normally. But only sometimes? Let's talk about what the hell is going on here. The Skullgirls tutorial is pretty thorough, but it's not 100% comprehensive. I'd like to fill in some of the gaps. Today, we're talking about push block logic. Now, nothing that happened in those clips is actually glitchy behavior. In fact, it's not even really inconsistent if you understand the underlying logic. According to the previous developer, each of these cases is the game doing exactly what it was intended to do. To paraphrase what he told me when I reported this many years ago, when a defender push blocks, they move their attacker in the direction the push blocker is currently facing. Lenny only seems to be broken here because Peacock is technically her own attacker. Basically, the former dev is saying, this is what's supposed to happen if you find a way to push block yourself. To make something else happen, I'd have to make a special exception to push block logic, and I chose not to. So let's examine a few simple cases to get a sense of how this works. I'm going to put a picture of the defender on the left, their attacker on the right, and an arrow under the attacker to show which way they get pushed. Here, Pink Peacock push blocks a punch from Bella. So, Pink Peacock's attacker is pushed in the direction she's currently facing. Bella gets pushed to the right. Here, Pink Peacock push blocks the bomb from Bella's assist. Blue Peacock is her attacker, so the Blue Peacock gets pushed to the right. It doesn't matter that Pink is push blocking a projectile or who the lead character is right now. When push blocking, a defender applies a push in the direction they're facing to the character who most recently hit them, regardless of where that character is or what they're doing right now. Here, Pink Peacock blocks the bomb from Bella's assist, long after Blue Peacock has already left. Pink's attacker is no longer on stage, so nobody gets pushed anywhere. And this is where Lenny gets involved. Pink Peacock push blocks a Blue Lenny. Blue Peacock is the one who put that Lenny there, which makes her Pink's attacker. Blue gets pushed right. Again, Pink Peacock push blocks a Blue Lenny. Blue Peacock is her attacker, but she's not on stage, so nobody gets pushed. One last time, Pink Peacock push blocks a Blue Lenny. Blue gets pushed right, even though her assist action hasn't hit Pink yet. she's still Pink's most recent attacker. Now, Pink push-blocks a Pink Lenny. The game checks who hit her and pushes that character the direction Pink is facing. So, she push-blocks herself forward. And I'll pause here to point out that because Peacock is in block stun, she'll continue blocking if she gets hit while moving forward. The block stun also makes her unthrowable during the movement. And, because she's push blocking, her block stun ends when the animation ends, so it may be tough to apply pressure while she's coming at you. And yes, this works even if Peacock is in the air. The setup is entirely too long and too telegraphed to be practical, but this is exactly the kind of absurd Looney Tunes bullshit you'd expect from Peacock. Anyway, this time, Pink Peacock slaps down a Lenny and lets her ally Painwheel push block it. Painwheel's attacker is her ally, Pink Peacock, who isn't on stage right now, so nobody gets pushed. Finally, and this might be my favorite one, Painwheel push blocks her ally's Lenny, but calls its owner as an assist right before the explosion. Painwheel checks who hit her, then pushes them the way she's facing, which boosts her own assist forward. All of this is the reason why Lenny scrambles sometimes result in apparently stupid and confusing behavior. Only the Peacock who placed the Lenny can get push blocked around, but it doesn't matter who push blocks it, including herself. And the push direction depends on which way the push blocker is facing, even if that moves Lenny's owner towards her opponent. Next, both Peacocks will push block a Pink Lenny. This means Pink Peacock is the attacker for both of them. Blue shoves Pink the direction Blue is facing, pushing her away, but then Pink shoves Pink the direction Pink is facing, launching herself right back in. And here, both Painwheel and Bella push block a Lenny, and it doesn't matter who owns this one because there aren't any Peacocks on stage, so nobody gets pushed. And yes, this means you can push block dead bodies around. I don't even want to get into the nonsense that happens if you use a cheat engine to disable the check that prevents you from selecting duplicate characters. I know from experience you can basically mod a 3v3 match with 6 Peacocks, and it's technically possible to have 6 Lennys on the stage at once. It's about the most chaotic this game can get, and Lenny being goofy with push blocking only makes it worse. Before we go, I want to point out that Umbrella reflecting projectiles also steals ownership of them for push blocking purposes. Even though Peacock created this bomb, Umbrella's reflection steals it, so Peacock sees Umbrella as her attacker and Umbrella gets pushed. I also want to point out that Lenny is the only setup I know for sure. I don't know if there are weird, elaborate setups to do something similar with Black Dahlia's Dynamite Super. If so, just apply the same logic. Push the Dahlia who owns the dynamite in the direction the push blocker is facing. For sure, attacks that allow friendly fire are extremely rare in this game, and Lenny is the main one you'll ever see. But this behavior isn't a bizarre oversight, or this one super being broken. It's just what happens when push blocking an attack that belongs to an ally, or to yourself. That's really all I have to say about this. It's not very match practical, but it's worth knowing what will happen if it ever comes up. And, because this is the game working as intended, any future moves or setups with friendly fire will most likely work the same. We can figure this out pretty much instantly if we see it on a new character. I mean, assuming that the current devs don't decide to change Pushblock logic anyway. The guy who said this is working as intended no longer calls the shots around here, after all. But for now, that's all I've got. Thanks for watching. Peace.